Okay, I want to repeat that. We are watching Dr. Ruth, which is a sex therapist, and we're going to learn about intimacy in couples. Here we go.
Volksverhetzung law that prohibits people from inciting the people in public, and then also they got rid of all the Nazi and Hitler imagery in Germany. Only in the museums you see it. Where here in the United States, there's a lot of praise of people who incited. Go ahead.
Except there's a brand new museum in Washington that tells the story of slavery, and like I'm telling people come in New York to the Museum of Jewish resistance, see the exhibit of Auschwitz. All of you have to go to Washington to see the exhibit and to see that brand new museum of African culture.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
So now let's talk about sex.
Okay, let's talk about sex. Okay. Yes. I now know how old you were when you lost your virginity, and and it was on a haystack. Am I mistaken?
I knew that he would pick that up from the documentary. So I knew that, but that was a love affair.
Okay.
But he didn't want to make it last into a relationship. So that's why I'm telling you, young people, this summer a book is coming out, Sex for Dummies, with new entries. And Pierre Leroux is doing it with me. New entries for the millennials. So that you people have to learn that it's important to have a relationship. You people have to learn the art of conversation so that you don't sit on your phone. And there are many other nice things in that book. When the book is out, I'm coming back on your show.
Come on, Dr. Ruth. Let's talk it. Now, I'm so flattered you still see me as a millennial. Thank you for that. I'll take that one right there. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines. But anybody have a question for Dr. Ruth?
Oh.
Tracy?
You can
because I could keep going.
Yeah. You can all say a friend of mine has a question. You never have to say I. I see him nodding his head.
Okay. All right.
Well, I was going to ask Dr. Ruth, what advice do you have for a couple that's moving in for the first time? Because that's what's happening in my world soon.
Okay, first of all, moving in for the first time means that this is already a step into a relationship. Now, before you even move in, make sure you decide who is going to do the dishes.
Oh, he's doing them.
He's doing them?
Yeah, he finds it therapeutic, yeah.
You are lucky. So then you decide who is going to wash the floor, who is going to make the beds. But most important for you young people, you have to make time for sex.
Yes.
I hear from young people that they don't have time. That's nonsense. People in the olden days, the immigrants that came, for example, to New York in the needle, in the garment industry, they worked many more hours than any of you young people. So don't give me that no time. Make sure that you do have time for arousal, for talking to each other, and for knowing how to please each other to orgasm. On your program, I can talk like that because I'm a sex therapist. I'm very well trained.
Yes.
So moving in, first of all, you. Don't wait for him to bring flowers. You buy the flowers and you bring them in.
Yes.
He will learn very fast that that's what you like. He will then bring flowers. Don't sit there and tell me afterwards, we moved in and he didn't have champagne and he didn't have flowers. You get it.
Right.
Okay, you give her the money.
Okay.
And she will go and get champagne and flowers. And then one more thing before you do have sex.
Please, yeah.
You read one of my books.
Got it.
There you go. How much sex do you think is healthy to have? Twice, 3 times a week, or?
I can't tell you because it depends.
All right.
Some young people would like to have it every day. Some older people, that's not realistic. I see his face over there.
It's not realistic.
Not realistic. However, here is a lesson to be taught. First of all, make sure that you have the time for her arousal because it takes longer for many women to get sexually aroused. And then make sure that you have the time for afterplay. Because if you caress the woman that you're with after sex, that's already the foreplay for the next time of sex.
Very true.
Oh, is that how that works?
Game.
All right.
I usually go to the bathroom. I should be the hot you know what I mean? I got to cuddle. Okay, all right.
You have to cuddle, you have to hold her, you have to caress her.
It gets hot, though.
Too. And that already sets the stage, even if the next sexual experience is a week later.
Okay. DB.
Yes.
This is like laying in the wet spot afterwards. Just
That's
kind of
your-
like, just cuddle in that? Nah, we can put a towel down or something.
Yeah, we got to. Well, no, Dr. Ruth said we must cuddle, therefore
all right.
must cuddle.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No excuses.
Okay, Dr. Ruth, I've been single for a long time, you know what I mean? And I'm also a bit of an introvert. I like staying home. I don't like to really go out and socialize. Is it healthy to be single for, a long time, or should you absolutely just get out and start meeting people because that's what we're all meant to do at some point?
Look, if some people say they want to have time to read a book, which is not likely for your age. However, maybe a graphic novel which is made for children, you read it fast.
Okay.
Then you can have some quiet time. But I believe that people have to be out, I'm not saying every night, but let's say in your case, at least once a week, to be out, to be social, and to give your attention to somebody else. Never mind what it does for you only, but that you give your attention to somebody else. Out of that will grow, hopefully, a relationship. And I want everybody to have a relationship. Gay people, older people, I want them to be sexually knowledgeable, to know what needs to be done. For example, older people, I'm looking at him all the time.
Yeah.
Older people have to know not to have sex in the at night.
Why not?
At that time, it's more difficult to have an erection. In the morning, get up, go to the bathroom, have a little breakfast, go back into bed, and you have the best erection ever.
I guess I got to start doing that.
All right, Dr. Ruth, I have a question as a married person. So my husband and I have a really hard time. We'll go to a hotel, like just to hang out or whatever. He may get a room, and we stay down in a bar for a long time and hang out and talk. It's fun. No, it's fun. We can't sleep in the hotel beds. Like, I don't know, should we start bringing our own sheets or something like that? What's wrong? Like,
If you can't sleep in a hotel bed, then do me a favor. Have your drink in the bar, have a good time, and then go home.
I
and
hate
sleep
to
in
waste
your
it.
bed.
I know, I hate to waste it. You try to do the date thing and go away for a nice, it never works. I was trying to see if you knew what was wrong with the bed in the hotels.
No, there's something wrong with your head.
All right.
You have to make believe, whatever it is, that you are, wherever you had a good, come here, I tell you something.
Oh, she telling a secret.
Wherever you have had a good orgasm, put that into your brain when you are with your husband. It doesn't matter where, in a haystack, like in my documentary. It doesn't matter where. Put that into your brain.
Okay.
And don't worry about the mattress or anything else. Put that experience when you once had a super good orgasm in your mind, and then it will happen.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth.
Mike
Good?
Muse.
Yes.
All right.
Mike Muse, you got a question over there?
Yeah. Dr. I have a question for you regarding, sex is conversation is more commonplace now as we in this society we're living in right now. What about when it comes to religion? What kind of feedback did you get from individuals who thought about the work that you were doing was, didn't go against religion and
So, I tell you what. Luckily for me and for all of you, that I'm very Jewish. In the Jewish tradition, sex has never been a sin. It always has been an obligation, something to be performed, a married couple. So that gives me the opportunity to always say a relationship is very important. And if you come from a religion where they said that sex is only for procreation, only for having children, leave that for Sunday mornings in church Go home the other days and have good sex.
Right. I want to ask you a question because I have a daughter, and
Don't tell her name.
I don't know. I would not do that, but I've told her name before. But we started talking about sex early in her life, you know, and it surprised me, even with sex education courses in school, grade schools, how little they really teach the kids. At what age do you suggest parents talk to their kids about sex? And when I look at this Roller Coaster Grandma, this amazing story of Dr. Ruth, this graphic novel, I'm curious to how do you approach it? Do you approach it with graphics?
I tell you what, first of all, I applaud you because you are already an askable father. She has to know that she can ask you all of the questions. You will never say, where did you get that? You will never say you shouldn't know about it. You will answer. If you don't know the answer, you're going to tell her, I will find the answer in some books. Also, you have the power of the airwaves. You have to tell everybody who's a teacher that they have an obligation to be sex educators, but first they have to have like a seminar with parents to show the parents what they're going to tell their children. So no parent is going to be worried about religious issues like what you were talking about. So they have to be approachable, which she is. And we don't have the luxury not to teach. Girls these days are having their period at an earlier and earlier age. We don't know yet why. Some people say it has to do with nutrition, but we don't know. Boys, mothers of boys, everybody, girls have to know what a nocturnal emission is, a wet dream. Otherwise, a mother could tell her son, what's the matter with you? How come you don't go to the bathroom? How come you you pee in bed? That's not peeing, that's a nocturnal emission, which is a physiological happening. So we have to make sure that everybody grows up sexually literate. So they all have to know how to communicate, how to talk to that next generation.
Dr. Ruth, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Ask Dr. Ruth on social. And then also Ask Dr. Ruth. The documentary is in theaters May 3rd and on Hulu on June 1st.
She cracks me up. She's funny. She's really funny. Becky. Yeah, good luck working out to this. That's funny. Okay, so let's talk about what she talked about. I never the one thing that I pulled out was just that when she said about like the morning and the evening. Meh? I thought that was kind of interesting. Mike and I always tend to like in the night, like when we're like, oh, then we like fall asleep. We're really bad at that. So I was like, we would shift it to the morning because maybe we'd get a lot more done. Love you, Dave. No, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was good. I like the fact of just being sexually literate. That phrase in itself, I think that like we as women need to be okay with being literate, understanding what happens, right? Like in between me, in between him, in between us. Like if we can't understand that, then how can we ever really, really create true intimacy if we don't understand what's happening between the two of us, right? So I really enjoyed that video, Tessa. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. I'm glad you found one that was I don't know. It was good. I don't know what I wanted to say there.
It was good. Like, I mean, and she kind of like covered a lot of points. Like the one thing, I think the big one for me that I was like, oh, wow, that's so true, is you have your foreplay, you have sex, and you have your afterplay. Like that is such a big thing because a lot of times it's just like, and it's for, you know, men and women, it's just, well, let's just do it and get it done with. And, you know, women do need that. They need more time. Like, you need that time to like feel that you're loved and feel that you're cared for. And it was one thing I wrote down yesterday was, I can't find it now. But, because many men see sex as a way to get close to a woman and a way to please them. So it's just the act of sex of like, I'm going to please her, you know, I'm going to give it to her. She's going to be happy. But men don't think about the foreplay or the afterplay that a woman needs, because that's the connection that a woman needs. Or, you know, even it doesn't even have to be a man, a woman and a woman, you know, people are different and people's minds work different, and probably not everybody is going to be that same way. And maybe you don't need the foreplay or the afterplay, but a good percentage of women do need that, especially women that are in marriages and you have kids and you've been married for a while, and or if it's a long-term relationship, that goes with the whole intimacy like factor that's in there. So that was one thing that I was just like, you know, that's like so true, because a lot of times when I sit and think about, you know, sexual experiences that Jeremy and I have had, I'm thinking about like the whole event. Like, I'm playing from beginning to end on how that whole event conspired. And it's not just like, oh yeah, we had some good sex. It's, you know, I got a massage, or, you know, we kissed, or we had went out, and, you know, afterwards, like, we actually laid and you talked, because that's a big time that when maybe communication comes up, because you're vulnerable at that point in time, because you've already had such that closeness together. And so there was like 8 tips that I found also from Dr. Ruth, and they were pretty good. So one was, people are not Siamese. They don't want sex or to have sex at the same time. It's true. You know, some guys want it in the morning right away, and you're like, I don't think so. Why are you waking me up for this right now? You know, some want it in the evening because it's been a long day. They want, you know, maybe you want it in the middle of the day. I don't know. 2 was make sure you change your positions. Don't be doing it missionary style all the time. You know, like, there's lots of positions out there. I can name them if you all want to get a little red. But I mean, like, for me, that's one thing, is changing positions. Whether you're doing it doggy style, you do it cowgirl, maybe laying on your side, like, get experimental. And that's one thing for me, I will say, having all the issues that I did before having my hysterectomy. So that is one thing I'm very curious about now, like, once I'm able to have sex, like, how different that's going to feel, or maybe positions that were for me that were painful before that we couldn't do. But in my early 20s, it was probably one that I really, really liked. But as I got older, had kids, started having the issues, I couldn't do that position no more. So now I want to go back to that position. I want to try that out and like experiment and have that kind of fun, and not have to worry about, well, we can only do it this certain way, because if not, I hurt and it's too painful and I don't enjoy it. Like, I am totally, totally excited for that. Like, absolutely excited for that. So change your positions, ladies. Find out things that you like. Maybe it's things that you haven't tried that you do like, because like she said, in religion, it's like, oh, it's just to procreate. Have fun. Like, that's the part of having sex, is having fun and enjoying it. And it's not just to be making babies. 3, and Jeremy and I have done this before also, have sex before you go to dinner. It will heat your dinner up. And not like in the sense of like putting it on the stove and eating it up, but we've done that before. Like, we have taken the kids when they were younger and dropped them off at the babysitter before and come back home, or maybe went someplace else. I don't know. Experiment with your places. Had sex and then went out on our date. Like, the chemistry that creates between you when you're like sitting there at dinner, and only you two know like maybe what you've done or where you did it at, and you're just looking at each other and you're laughing, and a waiter comes up and they're just like, all right, like they don't know what's going on. It is so much more fun. It is so much more fun. So try that. Try having sex before going on your date, not have the date and then have sex. A lot of times too, it takes out that anxiety of like expectations of like, okay, you go out to eat, you go out to dinner, and then maybe you had one too many, or you're tired now and you just want to go home and go to sleep. But that huge expectation and that elephant is in the room of like, you expected to have sex after dinner, or he expected to have sex after dinner. Like it takes that whole expectation out and lets you really relax for the evening. 4 was, people will grow jealous of their partner's fantasy. And everyone needs a fantasy. Like if your dude is all about like Jennifer Aniston, or you're about, I don't know, Brad Pitt, Charlie Hunnam, I like me some Charlie. Like, don't be jealous about your partner's like fantasy. That is their fantasy. If that is what helps them, like, don't be jealous about it. Now, I mean, if it's your best friend, you might have an issue there. But if it's like, you know, don't be jealous about their fantasy. Maybe they fantasize about different positions or doing it different places. Like she said, going to the hotel and even thinking about your best sexual fantasy. You don't have to tell your partner about it. Like you don't have to expect them to tell you about what their sexual fantasy is. That is their fantasy. It's a fantasy because it's something that is probably never going to realize. It's something that's not going to come into their life probably ever. If it does, well, then go play the lottery. I don't know. But like, have that. You don't have to tell it to your partner, and your partner doesn't have to tell you yours. That's what spices things up and keeps things fresh and active and going. 5 is if you're waiting for the orgasm, you won't enjoy it. So you have to enjoy the act itself, not like the release that you're going to get from it. Like I've had partners before that like you start into it and like he just can't do it. And guys get so embarrassed by that. I like laugh it off of like an okay, but that's a huge pressure that guys have that I don't think women think about, is like if they are going to please you, because that's why they ask when you're done, was that good for you? Because they want to know, they want that feedback of like, they gave it to you good and you enjoyed it. So that's like a huge thing too. But if you're waiting on that orgasm, like some women, and they'll be in relationships, won't have an orgasm because they're not connected to that person. Some people just want the orgasm and they're sexually active because of it. But some women aren't going to have that orgasm because they might not know it, but subconsciously they need that connection to be able to have that experience. 6 is, it goes back to about the whole fantasy, is not sharing the fantasy, not being jealous of it. You don't have to share it. 7 was, your sex does not have to end at a certain age. Kind of like sex is not just for procreating. Like she will tell you, Dr. Ruth will tell you, she's like 92 and she still has sex. Like she's just out there having sex. She's been married like 3 times because like in another one I watched, like her sexual partners, she made husbands because she didn't want to be seen as being promiscuous. So like she enjoyed it and had fun. So she's been married like 3 times. But like, it doesn't have to end at a certain age. Kind of like it doesn't it goes into another one I read about, you know, like good girls don't have sex. And that's one thing that's played into like, you know, you don't have sex when you're 16, 17, 18, 19. Like women are having sex later and having more of a sexual peak like in their mid 30s, because then it's like, okay, then for them to have sex. And so men and women's sexual peak are completely different, because men are just, you know, men are out there experimenting, because for boys, it's not as, oh, sex is a bad thing. You know, they're out there in their 20s and they're having, you know, their sexual experiments and they're having their fun. Whereas women more often than not are settling down and they're having kids And then like, you know, they're hitting their sexual peaks at different times because it said, you know, good girls don't do that. Because we're not talking to our kids the way that we should be talking to our kids about relationships and about intimacy and about sex. And so you have a lot of kids that are out there that are not having protective sex or are being like really promiscuous about sex because their parents aren't talking to them about it. So if you're talking to your kids about it and you're educating them about it, that's going to give them more freedom and they're going to be more sexually literate to be out in the world. And you don't have to worry about them making the mistakes. Things happen. Things happen when you're 25 and you get pregnant by accident. Like things are going to happen, but the more knowledge that you give them, the more knowledge they have to make those right decisions in their life. And then number 8, women take responsibility for their sexual satisfaction. Men do not know what you want. Sometimes you are going to have to tell them. Like some men might think that you like to, you know, like oral sex. Some women don't like it. Guys just think, oh, well, all women should probably like it. Not all women like giving oral sex to men. Not all ladies like to give some BJs, okay? But if you don't know that or you don't tell your partner, you're never going to know. And they're going to be doing this and you're not enjoying it. You're not having fun. So then you avoid it. And then that causes bigger issues. Like, and that's just things that kind of turn over time. Like it happened for Jeremy and I like used to love it. And then I had kids. And then it's like, I don't know so much. And then you breastfeed kids and maybe you really liked your, you know, you liked your titties being played with. And now you're like, don't like that so much. Like, I'm a very blunt person if you don't know. I will tell it like it is. No shame in my game. But like, so that was things that we had to work through. Like he would go to do it and I'm like, nope. And he's like, well, you used to love that. Well, I did used to. I don't right now. But when I get really, really aroused and we have foreplay, bring it on. I really enjoy it. But I have to have that level of arousal that gets me there. So it's not like, you know, just jump on that right away because sorry, not going to happen. It's not like that anymore. I'm not 22 anymore, you know? So you change over time and you have to talk to your partner about that. You can't just be like, nope, don't do it, and no explanation. And same for men. Men are going to change in things that they like. So you have to talk and you have to communicate. And that's where intimacy comes into play, in knowing your partner and being able to talk to them and making yourself vulnerable to them to be able to talk about it. And that was like a big thing. I mean, there's like 4 things of intimacy. So you have emotional intimacy, you have mental, spiritual, and physical. And there's a lot that goes with those 4 things. And it's kind of like, you know, you see people put the circles in the graph and they kind of interlock and, you know, one will overlap another and you may have 2 with one person and you may have 2 with another. You may have all 4 with one, but you have to have all 4 of those together to make that intimacy whole. Like you can't just, you know, work on one or the other because one, you might have really, really awesome sex with somebody and you have nothing else in common. But man, that sex is good. And another person, you have intimacy, and it's not even just between like a husband and wife or somebody you're in a relationship. I mean, it's with our friends. You know, you have friends that there's certain things that you'll talk to with certain friends. You know, like emotionally, you know, you have the people that you can go to and you have that emotional intimacy with them. Your spirituality, you have people that you can go to and be that with that person. There's very few people that you're probably going to have all 4 of those things come together and encompass, and it's just going to be complete and whole. Ideally, that person needs to be your significant other for it to work and to have a whole going on. So like your emotional intimacy is, you know, affirmation, caring, you're interested in their feelings, you're, you know, it's that slow down, keeping it simple, sharing what's hard to say, processing your feelings. And it goes back to yesterday when we talked about processing those feelings and thinking about before you speak. And, you know, when you do communicate that, being direct, don't be indirect and just think that they're going to read your mind, because that's not going to happen. We're not Siamese. So you're not going to know. So you have to be communicating in that. And like one thing I seen on that was you have to take the risk to not protect yourself. You can't protect yourself and be emotionally intimate at the same time. You have to willing to be vulnerable and learn that art of communication. And then, so the next one is mental intimacy. And that's where you get your meaningful conversations that you're having with people, your shared values. It's like the meeting of the minds, but you want it to also be challenging and you want it to be stimulating because you want to stay interested in that person. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, like opposites attract. You want somebody that's going to challenge you. You don't want somebody that's going to be in agreement with everything that you say, because that's going to get old real fast. You don't want them to be such huge differences that it's an issue of like, you know, maybe you want kids and they don't. That is going to be a huge thing in a relationship, to try to come across and, you know, overcome. So like have topics that fuel your brain. You know, and I think we do that a lot here in our personal development. It comes up and it talks, and, you know, like Jenny, like you said, you and Mike were talking yesterday and you're just like, what? Like you have those different points of views and talk about those and bring those up. And then, you know, make it a playful competition. You have to have playful competition to keep it spicy and keep it interesting. Like you don't, it's kind of like you don't want an equal, because you're going to make each other better by having that playful competition in there. And, you know, you don't want to always be a competition. You want to be able to share your passions. So as in the whole opposites attract, but you want somebody that's interested in the things that you do also. If you like hiking, if, you know, you like going to the museums or the types of movies that you're interested in, music, anything like, you know, working out or having that physical activity of doing that. You want to have, you know, shared passions, but you also want to keep it a little bit competitive and keep it spicy. The other one is spiritual. And so like spiritual, probably think like, oh, you practice the same religion or you both want to go to church. And that's not true. Like I am one that is more open to go to church and, you know, learn more about my spirituality in that way. Jeremy is not. Like I can hardly ever get that dude to go to church. Maybe if it's a holiday. But that's one thing that I know that's like not a passion of his, and it's not one thing I'm going to be able to force onto him, and it's something you don't want to force onto them. But being spiritual is just, you know, like shared beliefs or shared purposes, values, like your core values or your moral values is more of that spiritual, being spiritual together in that way. You know, expressing to your partner what your spirituality means to you, like why you enjoy going to church, why that's such a huge part for you. And it could be because, you know, it's something that was instilled into you as a child, or it's something that you found later in life because it was something that you were missing and now it's made you a whole person. And then, you know, do share it. Don't avoid it, but do try to share it with them so they do get a better understanding of it, because you can talk to them about it. But, you know, if they go to church with you, or, you know, it's a belief that you have, and even, I think even like the working out kind of like goes into that, because that's something that makes all of us feel so much better and boosts us so much. But until you actually do it, you don't understand it. So you got to be willing to like share that experience with them for them to understand it. And there was something else on that one. But yeah. So it's not like religious precisely. It's just, you know, your ethics, your morals, your values, kind of like the things that make you tick. And then the last is physical, which we all know is the kissing, the caressing, massaging, cuddling. But, you know, being relaxed in that, letting it flow, getting into the moment, not leaving it just to the man to be the one that initiates it, because women have to initiate it also. And like, you'd probably be surprised to how surprised your husband or significant other would be of like, you just come in and you're like, bah, chicken, wow, wow, let's go. Like, there's probably it's going to be that questioning of like, you know, when you're talking about personal development and then all of a sudden you try to implement it, they're going to be like, okay, well, what's happened to you? Who you've been talking to? What's going on? Who is this person? I don't know you. What is going on with you? Like, you went from not wanting to have sex to now like you want it. Like, what happened? And you're probably going to get that. And that's the thing too of like she said, you know, some people might want it every day. Some people it's once a week. Maybe it's a once a month. But trying to learn and experiment with it and trying different positions, he's probably going to wonder like, okay, well, she never wanted to do it doggy style. And now she's all like, yeah, baby. Like, might freak him out at first. But also, like, you know, if you're kind of a reserved person and like, you know, you want it missionary or you just want it like a certain way, maybe he needs that experimentation also. And it spices it up for both of you. And it's just not the same old mundane, because that is where relationships fail, and you not being open and both partners not being satisfied in your relationship. That is where that shiny new object that comes into play takes somebody's distraction, and it breaks down that relationship even further. When if you would have just taken the time to put it in, and he would have been able to learn what you liked, or you learned what he liked, or you just experimented a little bit and had some fun with it, everything would have been okay. So have fun with it, ladies. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Don't be afraid to experiment. Places safely and legally. Positions, you can try them in those places. Some places might have to have different positions. Oh. But just have fun with it. And I mean, intimacy happens over time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be like in a week, oh, we got all this intimacy figured out. It's learning. It goes along with that learning about that person over time. And it might take months, it might take years. It's, you know, knowledge, acceptance, you know, even problem solving comes into the whole intimacy thing, and having compassion and being able to listen to that person. You know, it's just being open with each other. And, you know, sex, like for me, a lot of times I think Jeremy is like, you know, if I don't have an orgasm, he feels like he failed. But, you know, I mean, the goal for a man every time is like, you know, when they're going to have an orgasm. But maybe for a man every time, maybe they don't need to, you know, same as a woman. Like, I just, even if it's we're cuddling or massaging or having that time together, like that physical intimacy, I think a lot of people, they, you know, you hear physical and you hear sex. It like goes together. It's physical and sex together. And that's not always true. And it's not for me. And I think that's one thing that we've learned through our marriage is like, even if we do have sex, like I don't have to have an orgasm every time to be happy. Like I'm happy that we just got to have that time together, because when you got kids running around and you're both working a full-time job, like sometimes you just need that physical contact with that person. And it's just the contact that you need, not the act of, you know, having to have sex. So that's something.
Can I ask, are you done, Tessa? I mean, are you?
You add, yes, add what you found.
Okay. I would like to talk about like the sexual roller coaster. Oh, hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Are you learning anything too? I hope you're learning too.
The sexual roller coaster in life. Y'all know I have 4 kids, right? So the stages that you go through, and I'm just going to share mine. Everybody's could be different. Like when we were dating, we actually had sex and then we stopped for probably 3 months because of our age. That's that we decided we wanted to do. We still pleasured each other, but we didn't have sex before we got married. We ended up getting married and we were newlyweds. So of course, sex was crazy, you know? And I also wanted to add too, like for women or for me, like it's a mental sex and orgasming and pleasuring. It's a mental thing for me. So if my mind's somewhere else, I'm not gonna enjoy it. So you have to come up with, like Tessa said, maybe a fantasy. Get your mind in the moment, okay? And I think that's maybe why she was talking about evenings, because I know in the evening our minds can still be running and running and running, but in the morning our mind's fresh. Stick his wiener, vagina, you're like, boom, there it is. I have nothing else going on. So I believe that's kind of what she was getting to, like in the evening, your mind's still rolling. So mental, ladies, you have to really find that fantasy or find a moment of enjoying the moment. Okay, so honeymoon stage, going through that. I got pregnant on our honeymoon. But then it was kids. It was like, oh, well, I'm pregnant. I have to soften my cervix, you know? So let's just have sex all the time to put me in labor. Like that's seriously what it was like. You know, I still enjoyed it. He still enjoyed it. It was just different. It was the roller coaster. You know, we didn't have sex. Then we were honeymoon stage. And then, you know, we were pregnant. So we were trying to go into labor. Well, I've been pregnant 4 times and have had 4 children. Like, so yes, we enjoyed sex as a married couple and as parents, but I was exhausted all the time. He was exhausted. You know, I was pregnant. I was not pregnant. So just let me tell you, our sex life now is the best that it's ever been. And he's 36, he's 35, I'm 34. And it wasn't until after we had our 4 kids. Like we had 4 kids and And we had, sorry, my son, he's whatever. So we had 4 kids and now, I mean, a month ago, we just tried a new position. Like, and we've been married for 9 years. We've been married for 9 years and we're still learning different positions. You know, like we're still communicating. Okay, yesterday, let me give you an example. Yesterday morning, he woke me up. It literally took him like a minute, if that. And I did not get anything with it. And he knew it, and he got off of me and he goes, oh, that was horrible. Because he couldn't control himself because it's been 2 days, which is fine. But you better bet your butt last night when he got home, I'm like, I'm going to need mine. Okay? Communication. Like, yeah, he felt horrible about it, but I needed mine too. I know I'm going to start my period this weekend, probably in a couple days. So I'm going to need mine. I'm going to go get in the shower, clean myself up. And that's another thing, ladies. My legs were hairy yesterday. I was dirty, sweaty, nasty. But I know I wanted to be pleasured. So I took care of myself. I got into the shower. I shaved myself up. I soaked myself up. You know, I got out of the shower, I lotioned up, I smelled good. And sometimes you just gotta brush your teeth to get in the moment. Okay? And this is what I do, so I'm just sharing. And then the moment happened last night, and he took care of me. But it's the communication. You have to talk. And yeah, give them signs that you're in the mood. Like men, like Dwayne, he loves to be touched. If I just walk by him and I just caress across him or crossed his package or his butt or something, you know, like he will like just like that. But with me, you know, he's got to come up to me. He's got to, you know, my shoulder, rub my butt a little bit. Like, we're different. Men and women are different. But you have to know each other's needs. Okay, communication is key. Last night, you know, while we were in the moment, I'm like, you gotta turn this way. Like, you gotta position different. Like, move over. And he did, and it was amazing. But even though you're in the moment, you can't get embarrassed. Like, he's your person. You guys do life together. Oh, I can't read these comments fast enough. You guys do life together. You guys sleep in the same bed together. Live in the same home. You communicate about everything else in life. So why wouldn't you communicate about one of the most important things in your life? Okay? And then let's talk about peaks. I just want to hit this quick. Men's peak and women's peak is different. Okay? There's peers, and then there's the, you know, horny teen or, you know, young adult guy. So I'm talking about women and guy. But at like a younger age, I feel like. And it's hard because Dwayne's peak is why we're in the honeymoon stage, why I was pregnant, you know, why I didn't want to have sex all the time. Like, that's peak. We still did because I know his needs. But now that I'm done having kids, so exciting. Now that I'm done having kids and I got my body right and I feel good about myself, I'm like, let's go. Like, this mama, I feel like I'm hitting my peak. So it's different. And then he's, you know, he's still up there too, but you have to be aware of the season that you are in. And you can't get frustrated during that season because it will change. So don't get frustrated about your sex life. Everybody's sex life is different, but you have to talk and communicate with your spouse or your loved ones and make sure you're hitting each other's needs. I know how often my husband needs it. He knows how often I want it. If it's not the same, we communicate and we work together to figure out what's going to work best for us. So, yeah, I think that's it. But the roller coaster of sex.
And I think that's going to be one thing for Jeremy and I, because for the past few years, I've been in, like, sex has caused me so much pain. So, like, we didn't have it as often, or, you know, we did have it and maybe I didn't enjoy it as much. But now, like, I've physically have myself in shape. It's going to come back. It hasn't went too bad, but I'm going to come back physically. But then I'm not going to have all of them parts in there that were making me, you know, not feel good. And I was having issues with even, like, getting horny, like even wanting sex. I'm going to go here for a second. Like, even the thought of thinking about sex, I was just like, I had to have that fantasy or something to get me into it. Literally, since I've had my surgery, like, I am horny every damn day. And it is so annoying that I can't have sex right now. Like, So we are going to be coming out the gate as soon as I get clearance. And my husband is probably going to be like, what the hell is happening? Like, she's wanting it like every day. I don't know. He'll probably be like, honey, you're too much for me right now. Because he's 5 years older than I am. I'm 38. I'm at my sexual peak right now. And now that I have all these issues cleared, I am like, oh yeah. And, you know, he's 43 and he's already like had his peak. So we're going to have to get him back swung into that. I don't think it's going to take too much convincing, but he's going to be like, who is this lady? Like, you know, I told him the other day, I'm like, God, I have been so horny. Do you want a blowjob? And he was like, huh? Because that's even one thing that for me, like, I used to loved to give them. But it was one thing after kids and things happen, I was like, I don't know, like if I want to, you know. But like, he was just like, okay, what have you been watching all day when I'm not like at home? What kind of shows you been watching? Because I watch some risque shows. So he's like, what were you watching today? I'm like, nothing. I just actually feel better. Like, I feel better. So, I mean, that's one thing, ladies, too. Like, if you are having issues in that department, please, please, please go get it looked at. Talk with your doctor. Like, for me, that has been my biggest hurdle since having 5 kids and going through pregnancies and all the issues that I developed. Like, I'm like, let's get this 6 weeks done. I'm excited and ready to see what happens. And I know he's going to be like, I don't know who this lady is. Like, what is going on with her? But that it's just one thing that, like, as I've had time to like sit here and think about it, I'm like, man, I'm horny today. And I can't even do anything about it because I'm not supposed to do anything even to myself. So I'm like, I got to be a giver. Like, be a giver, ladies. Like, even if you're on your period, like, be a giver. After you have your baby, yeah, you can't have sex. Be a giver. Keep that physical relationship going. And yes, I know after having a baby, I've done it 5 times. Like, you are tired, you don't want to, but like Dr. Ruth said, you have to make the time. Like, most guys, give them the 3 minutes. Like, you know, and if it's something that maybe you've not done before, like, you have to step out of your comfort zone of being able to satisfy him, even though you can't do anything physically, to be able to satisfy him, to keep that relationship going, to keep the intimacy there and to keep it going. Because I can tell you 6 weeks for a man is like SpongeBob, like 2,000 years later. Like, because when that 6 weeks comes up, that expectancy is there of like, okay, well, doctor says you can have sex now. When are we going to have sex? But if you keep them satisfied the entire time, or not even the entire time, like occasionally, maybe 1 or 2 weeks out of that 6 weeks, you have given them that physical contact and satisfaction. When that 6 weeks comes to an end, he's not going to be so like, all right, lady, we got to go do this now, because he's waited that time, and that is his expectation. Then it's that roller coaster of going through.
Also, too, can I add something else? Okay, so we all know there's porn out there, right? Hello. Men are gonna watch it. Okay. I'm sure that your significant other or your husband has watched porn. I'm not telling you how to handle it. You can do that on your own. But I know Dwayne has a couple times, you know, it's all over the place. You know, even if you click on an ad and something pops up. But I have chose not to get mad at my husband about it. He likes pleasure. If he can do that on his own and watch porn, then that's fine. Like, we have sex 2 days a week, probably. In the middle of the week and then on the weekends. Like, it's not scheduled, like, you know, but about 2 times a week. If he wants to get off any other time, then he watches some titties. Like his fantasy is 2 women together. Like that's okay. Like that's not cheating on me. You know, but you can handle it however you want, but you have to understand your husbands are going to get it from somewhere. Your husbands are going to reach out and seek it from somewhere. Okay? So if you are not intimate with your husband, I encourage you to sit down and have a conversation with him. Okay? I encourage you to talk to him about it, because that is the thing. Like Tessa said, you know, that girl walks in a short booty short, and then all of a sudden she gives him a look, and you haven't had sex with him for over a month, and there's his trigger, and it can lead to other problems. So I allowed him to do what he needs to do, and then we have sex two times out of the week. And I'm not saying all husbands do this, okay, and all husbands watch porn, but I'm just letting you know this is my process to get through his days, how I handle it. So make sure you communicate with your husbands on how often he needs his release, because it is a release. It's a release for me, it's a release for him, and it's fun.
And I think too, like, so with the porn subject, because I mean, I've watched it myself, but is I have boys. Boys are curious. Oh my God, boys in puberty. Ladies, if you have younger boys and they ain't been through puberty and you ain't dealt with that, let me tell you, that's a whole nother topic for another day. Jesus Christ, let me tell you. Like, but they're going to find it and they're going to watch it. And that is why you need to talk with your kids, and whether your husband has that talk with them, and your husband realizing porn is a fantasy. And you have to talk with your children, even if it's girls or boys, either or. I want to say boys especially. They need to know that that is a fantasy. That is, 1, not how you treat women. That is 2, not how that is going to happen in the real world. And I think that's an issue that comes into a play with a lot of women with their men watching porn, is like they have to realize that's a fantasy and it can become an issue in a marriage, but you have to keep that open and talk about it. Like, I know Jeremy watches it because we weren't having sex as often. I know he watches it. We don't talk about it, but I know it's not an issue either. Whatever he watches as a fantasy, he doesn't have to tell me. But you have to have those conversations even with your sons as they're going through puberty, because they are curious and they're going to, you know, they're going to look at it and they're going to watch it and they're going to see it. But you have to communicate with them that that is not real life. That is a fantasy that somebody has portrayed into film. And you have to teach them those intimacies, and they're going to catch that from how you and your husband or you and your significant other treat each other and interact with each other also. So it's not just you, you know, doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your children, and then your children doing it for their children. Because my parents did not talk to me about it. And then when I got to the age that like I was on my own and I was wild and crazy because I did not have somebody there to talk to me about it, and I was out of control. Like, it was out of control. But I know, in learning and going through that and being more open, and it is more open now than what, you know, it was years past for other generations, is it's not a bad thing. It's not a sin. It's not bad. And I think that's always been contextualized, is that sex is bad. And sex is only like if you're married to that person. And we have to get out of that. We have to get out of that mindset for them. And I know Mike has something to say. So what you got to say, Mike? He's just like,
He's been listening.
She watched it more than I do. I mean, honestly.
You can't, you're gonna come say that shit.
Yeah. I would find her phone and be like, Jesus Christ, dude. at least erase it, go to like the incognito box. So like, no, but to me, I was raised by women and I was told, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was told at 13, my mom said, you better shave because women don't like my hair down there in their mouth. It was like, what the fuck is going on? This is my mother. But she gave me amazing information from the time I was 13. I looked like a stud. But the biggest thing that I always tell guys is watch it, dude. Don't watch it. Because I think that I like to watch her. So what we did is I said, make me some videos, because I don't want her to try to live up to some of the horrible expectations that you have after watching porn. Because women don't do that shit. They're in a booth for 5 hours doing these crazy positions. She's not every woman wants to do that nasty ass shit that we cook up in our heads. And like, I remember when there was a category list this big. Now there's like, it's like, whoa, now the big thing, if you've ever clicked on it, it's like you're fucking your mom or your sister or your brother, and it's like, oh my God, things have gotten so weird. Like, to me, it brings expectations to guys that, like, if they're younger, they start to bring that in the expectations, like, well, why aren't you doing, how come you don't like it all over your face? Like, I'm gonna be real, like, guys will do that, and that's wrong. But that's when you actually have a problem in your relationship, okay? And I'm going to tell you this, because I had, not with me and her, but in a past relationship, I found myself in a routine of watching so much porn because I wasn't getting pleasure from her. Now, whenever I did try to find pleasure with her, was impossible. It was impossible. And it actually ruined a relationship with someone that was probably a good person. But sex is big to me. Sex is huge. It's a very big connection. I need it. She doesn't like the way that I do it. I'm going to be honest.
Wait, what?
Because I'm very, the way I grope you.
Oh, I
My-
didn't mean like
my-
the way
my,
we do it.
like,
I was like,
tips-
I love that.
how I want to do it. I literally walk by, I'm like, babe. Like, I'm very like,
He's like,
I'm like a 12-year-old.
grab me.
Straight up. I'm very like, and she's like, you never give me hints. And I'm like, I've touched your vagina 12 times today before 7:30. What the hell are you picking up? But back to this thing was like, it was because I was watching porn that I had these expectations from a girl that were literally impossible for her to meet. And that's where you've got to watch, like, there's got to be a balance of, yeah, you need to watch some things for creativity. Trust me. Like, that's the cool part. Like, I'm mad because my knee can't go over my head right now. I'm just kidding. But, like, you got to switch things up. And maybe if that takes a video or conversation with other people or music or whatever it is, like, you know, I thought back in the day that screwing to Seinfeld wasn't all that bad. And she's like, no, Sade is the way to go. You know, like, I didn't know there was a mood.
I can't be distracted. I get very easily distracted.
And
like, if the TV is on, like, I'm like, can we turn that off? He doesn't even notice it, but I'm like, I am watching TV right now. Like,
and I'm wired. We had to learn, because I'll tell you the straight up honest truth. I told her when I first met her, if your kids are in the room, tell them to leave.
First letter.
I do not make love with my D. I F with it. I don't F with my heart. There's no emotions in this. I'm here to get the job done. We're both going to have fun, and let's go home. I had never in my life, in 30 years, 28 years, had ever made love. Ever. Now, that doesn't mean that there was ever an unsatisfied person in the past, but truthfully, we had no connection. I heard someone say it earlier. There was always pre-gaming, always, because I was big on that. I understand you can't just go boiling water immediately. But it was always up, tossed you a towel, I'm out of here. How many emotionally fucked up people did you leave on the bed? You start thinking about that. When I knew, okay, and I don't know if Jenny's ever told you this, I went over to Jenny's house to hang out, and she made me have sex. I was the gentleman. She said, nope. She got me my favorite beard. She laid out the platform. She said, no, this is happening. I was being the gentleman. I knew I had a woman that was something I really wanted, right? But when I had sex with her, it wasn't that it was just good. It wasn't that we had a connection. It was something I'd never felt before because of the mood she set. It was love. I literally, at that very moment, I told myself, I'm never going to let this girl go anywhere. This is like, I could not believe the emotional connection. I had had girlfriends in the past. I'd never stayed faithful, not one. I'd be honest. I was a very promiscuous. I believed in casual sex. I believed that we could all be friends, and as long as we were safe, and I did, and I never got tied down, and I cheated on women. I was horrible because they couldn't satisfy me. I have never once in my life, and I knew that this is where it was when the connection came from sex. I never wanted to look. I never looked at a woman the same way again from that day on. And I honestly knew that's was like, wait, hold on here. One woman can keep me seriously this happy. And it was because of the mood, the pregame, the aftergame, the finding what each other liked and learning. And we still are extremely adventurous. First thing we did, I got up here, I said, this is what's going down. One way or another, it's Tuesday and I'm eating a fucking taco. It's going down. We ain't got no kid. It's not gonna be like no sheets. We're on the 9th floor, girl. Open the blind. Shit, there's a Top Golf across the street. Like, you gotta spice it up. I know we'll never let that part ever go away. Ever. Because we're both creative people. We're both very Bonnie's not on here.
No, my mom's not on here.
Holy shit. But we're both very sexual people. The craziest thing is we don't do it for the kids. We're like, no kids. We're like, hey, can we just I'm secretly thinking of getting a vasectomy just so we can go to the shooting range all the time with no worries. But don't let the guys, we think about it obviously but I'm not even gonna say way more because that's I don't know, it's to each one. But I did hear on there earlier, the guys are gonna get it from somewhere. Girls are too. No matter if you got one kid, no kid, 5 kids, you work at an office. If you're capable of watching a video for an hour without your boss knowing, I'm pretty sure you do some other things under the desk. So everyone's gonna find their way, but be the way. That's when a husband or a wife, everyone's capable of cheating. My wife is up for grabs every day, so I fight for her every day. I do not give up. I don't, every day, there could be a dude that's sexier, faster, stronger, smarter, more financial, whatever I'm slacking in. This spot that I'm in is available every day. And if you don't take your relationship that way in all aspects, the dishes, whatever the sex, in and out of the bed, whatever it is, you will lose your relationship in one of those. And then it will literally, if you could ever watch the movie Inside Out, and when you see these stations of life, these memories start to crash, it will. And when sex goes, there's nothing else besides a 30-second hug. And if you ain't trying to have sex with your spouse after a 30-second hug, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. She's like, why don't we sleep closer in bed? Let her touch me for 2 seconds and I'll show you that's why, because that's all we would do. I can't, she's like, oh my God, touch me up. No. Do you want another kid? You just said you were tired, you had a headache. You sure you wanted me to cuddle? I can't cuddle. I love this woman. I want this woman 24/7. But that takes work. It takes experiment. It takes tough times. Mm-hmm. You don't think there's times where she gets off and I don't? Because it happens constantly. That person that needs the 30 seconds over here. But maybe it's because of the layout that I put out. Maybe I'm only 7 seconds behind. Who knows? It's not always a race, but something that I like to.
And we went through our struggles too, though.
Oh
With
my
it.
God.
Like when I was
And
pregnant.
I'm bad. I'm bad because I could like I really actually. When she was pregnant, I understood. I was like, okay, boop,
Yeah, but
shut down.
you had a really hard time. Like we had a hard time having sex when I was pregnant because Mike felt like he was jabbing the baby. That's what he kept telling me. He goes, I feel like I'm hitting the baby.
It was so.
He goes, I
And
swear.
I wasn't like. And hey, you know, it just.
What? I don't know whatever's gonna come out of your mouth. It makes me.
I'm just trying to like listen. It was scary.
Yeah.
It was, and I know like it's stereotypical. Like every guy thinks, oh, I've got this big dog shit. I'm gonna hit the baby's head. No, I legit freaked out and was like, okay, this is. I know when the back. I was knocking on the back door, man. What else is there, dude? And it just scared me, you know.
But I didn't get it.
I got a kick one time.
When I was pregnant,
that
though.
freaked me the hell out. I felt like someone was right there.
Yeah.
And I was like getting PTSD from college, and I was like, "What? I'm kidding." But I felt her stomach, and I got a kick, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was really hard when I was pregnant. Like we went through like a really.
But I wanted to.
I didn't get it.
I wanted her to feel. She was so beautiful. Oh my God, I wanted it so bad because she was so sexy. She was so cute, pregnant. Like that was the best thing, actually. 'Cause she was so beautiful, and I was like totally wanting it all the time. But one thing I don't care. I'm working out. Listen.
Yeah.
4 weeks of the prep. How was a baby not made? 6 weeks of the work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's listen.
Hormones were flying.
It got you up. Now the hormones went from don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to work out with you. Shut up. Why do we gotta take pictures? Because I hated it. Oh my God. I'm like raging. And she's like, oh my God, let's take photos. Barely sweating and shit. I'm like dying. I've got a heart rate of 190. I'm like, I don't want to take photos. I gotta go to work. But then it became like you started getting extremely self-confident in yourself, and no matter your age or where you're at in life, it's just like if you're not working out or sparking that little flame in your own life, you're not going to spark it in your relationship. So once I actually like started getting, I was losing my sex drive at my peak. Okay, that's serious. I'm 36 years old, and the worst time of my life, unfortunately, was right around my marriage. I got married. I was at my heaviest at 202 pounds. I was an alcoholic who was literally, from the moment that Denny went back to Ohio, I slept in my work trailer and worked down here, and I drank an 18-pack a night. I was getting fucked up. I was gaining weight. And even though I was doing these workouts, I was gaining more weight. I was so miserable. I didn't want to touch her because I didn't want her to look at me. I had fears of being on top of her. We hadn't had sex in the missionary position because of the fears of me being fat. Legit. Now I wasn't fat. I'm just overweight. I was out of shape. I had a gut that at one point I was like, I was disgusted. And then when that happened, Garrett poked my belly one day and I just wanted to lose it. I wasn't having sex with my future wife. I was at the heaviest weight that I'd ever been, but I just wanted change. And my son thought I was some fat shit. I was laying on the couch in an RV, dead serious. And I started working out again, and I started getting back my sexual drive, and I was like, you're getting it. And she wasn't honestly ready for it again because it was on my time, and I was like roaring, and I was like, listen, I just worked out. Either I'm going to lift some more weights or you're up next. Like I need to do some reps, and I love you. You're looking juicy right now. But that wouldn't happen. Not saying mentally I didn't see it, but guys, we don't feel it. Tennille, I want to know, truthfully, I see that your little jackrabbit over there is like constantly humping, but did it change during the workouts? When he started to feel more self-confidence, did he put his hand down and grab you more instead of his own Johnson? Because truthfully, I believe that's
that was a big thing for us.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if my goal is to get all of your guys working out with me, and if I could bring this up to them and say, and I would never, ever, ever say anything that I overhear. I didn't even hear any of this meeting today. I was going through my own bullshit that they're messaging me about right now. But if I can get all the guys, we're on a team here. We're on a team, which means we're all on a team. If we can work together to get guys getting better in relationship, with sexually, physically, mentally, remember we're on a team here. Let's do this. Because I told her today I wanted to talk about to you girls because I feel that I can help you with some of the complications you may be going through with your guy. Why? I'm the hardest, biggest dickhead anyone's ever had to deal with, and I'm not trying to do it myself because I've literally sat by the wayside for 4 years. So I have been the biggest resistance that she's ever had, or that you'll probably ever come across. Like, your husband has an issue, I probably was that times 10. Because I'm spiteful, because I'm really hard-headed, and I don't let anyone tell me what to do. You should have seen me driving yesterday. Spent 2.5 hours trying to go somewhere and couldn't stand the fact that someone's telling me that I can't do what I want when I work really hard for my freedom. I was pissed off. I mean, literally irate. And it's because I've never been grounded, ever. My mother grounded me once for 10 minutes, handed me a $20 bill and said, "Get the F out of my face." I've been very, very independent my whole life, and no one's ever tried to tell me what to do. If they did, it didn't really work out too well. Once I found the benefits in it, not just me, because it worked in through, just so happened to be with wakeboarding. It transpired into wakeboarding, but it has literally sparked my sex life back to where we belong. Not that we ever were in the worst places in the world. Never could say I was in fear of my relationship going anywhere. No cheating.
But just the roller coaster.
Just the roller coaster of when, why, what. You know, the fact that I told her, I said, "Derek ain't busting in the door. It's not happening. Like, we got this place to ourselves. Who the fuck cares who can hear us next door? We paid for this place." Just like they did. And if they're doing social distancing, it's every other room, damn it. Like, this headboard should be broken. I paid a deposit. Like, let's rock this shit. Like, and Tessa was the reason why we came up an extra day early.
Yes.
But then an extra day definitely helps. Like, when I said it yesterday, I was not joking. I live my life for my wife and my son. I lived my own life for 30 years, and I lived it really well. And I got some amazing stories, autographs, shirts to prove it, scars, and stupid stuff too, okay? But my life is dedicated to my family. My wife needs to be, I learn something new every day, probably because I put myself right in the fucking deep end every day, and I get myself into trouble, but I never, you can ask her, I don't do things wrong twice. It doesn't happen. I learn, and I'm coachable so quickly, but it's because I'm dedicated. I am dedicated to satisfying this woman in and out of the bed until we're dead. And I hope that I die one day before, just so I don't have to live one day without her. I really do. Because every day is fun. It's new. Enjoy the adventures, the ups and downs. If you're not arguing, something's wrong. If you don't have disagreement, if you are seeing eye to eye, you're bored. You're boring as shit. You need to switch it up. You need to bring up a new conversation. Just because we don't agree or don't have the same opinions doesn't mean that we can't get along. I love that I learned from her. We may not agree right off the bat, but that's just because one side may not be as educated as the other. And that doesn't mean that we're right or wrong. It just means that we don't know everything. Holy shit, we don't know everything. Oh my God, you don't know everything. It's okay, because every day, by the time you're 90, you should know more than you did when you were 80. But if you know more when you're 80 by you're 90, you're living way too fast, man. Slow it down. Take time to enjoy. Not every person is the same. Every person wants the same, though. Every person wants to give and receive love. That is a guarantee. There's nobody that came out going, give me all the hate and rage you want, and I can take it. It just doesn't happen. It's taught that way. So if you can teach it, you can unlearn it. So if you've had problems, unlearn them, switch them up. He will follow, ladies, if he's invested in, and I'm talking about long-termers. If not, if he's, listen, you got, any of you have a boyfriend and you ain't been together long on this, and you're having problems, you're going somewhere, and he's either gonna follow or get left behind, girl. And don't feel bad, because you're going somewhere good, and it's just a reflection of how shitty he is. Don't carry the baggage. Be the person that the baggage follows, that has the wheels. If he's baggage, he's got wheels rolling behind you. Because when I saw her going, I knew I had two choices. Swear to God. I was already listening to personal development, and I was like, okay. But I saw her doing something. I said, oh shit. Oh boy. I got to step up now. No more bullshit, Mike. Your 50% ain't going to cut it no more. You got to get back to 100, because she's going somewhere, and this rocket's leaving fast. And I'm quick, and I was up for the challenge, and I keep up. And sometimes she's probably not going to admit it all the time, but I'm the one that's leading the way. I am on 100% from 4 a.m. until midnight, and then I barely get rest, because supposedly that's what you're supposed to do nowadays. If I could, I would stay up and grind 24/7 if I could. And my job, my second job, is wakeboarding. I'm trying to become the oldest person to ever go pro wakeboarding. I've only been riding for years. The people I'm competing against have been riding for 13. Now they're only 17 years old, but I've got some work to put up. So I've got extra work. If that's your relationship, put it in. It's worth it. You know, don't let the guys be afraid. They're going to get timid, and they're going to get resistant, because guys don't like change. Guys are kind of like, once we get into a river and it's nice and flowy, like, there's two different guys. There's guys that like to kayak, and there's guys that like to go whitewater rafting. Okay. There's guys that like it really nice and calm. And then there's guys that just like it ripping and roaring. I'm a whitewater rafter. I can't take a girl that is sitting there just poking around. If that shit, I'm going to run around you, girl. I'm going to do circles. You're not going to like me. I'm too high energy. I need you to come on, get your life vest on, because shit's about to get real. We're not doing mediocre stuff. We don't even celebrate, and I hate to say it, we don't even celebrate mediocre in our house. Like, dogs go outside and go to the bathroom. You don't get a bone. You had to go to the bathroom, not me. Like, we don't celebrate mediocre in anything. If there's ever been a time where you have,
we don't do mediocre,
not gotten off or anything, I'm like, all right, well, you're gonna get off twice this evening. You gotta make up. And just do and invest. Like, I don't get my part, ladies. I could talk about this all day long. I don't get why guys are invested, or why they get distracted, or why you and the kids, not saying that they're not, aren't first on their list. When I hear women talking about single parenting, or my husband's gone for the weekend, or he's always at the bar, or he's choosing something before me or the family, I'm not saying any of you, I don't understand it. I don't get how the brain concepts are. I can't grasp it, because I'm invested into something that I see great in, and I see great in all of you guys. So your men should be just as invested in you guys. But you have to be responsible too. And I don't know. Like, 100%. Yeah. Each person has to give the 100%, because I'm not trying to think, because like the guys, like, we tend to like put up this big wall, like where we don't want to talk about it. But I really think that it's the approach, and it's not like walking on eggshells. I think it's just the setup on when, because in all actuality, all we want is for you to be happy. There's not one guy out there that doesn't want their girl to be happy. I think that if you just found out, like if we were to get a manual, it'd be over. For me, oh my God, it'd be over with. If I got a manual to Jenny, it would have been locked down 7 years and 364 days ago. I would have studied it in one day, mastered it, but that's not how it goes. It kind of goes with the flow, and just keep continuing to work on it.
Yeah.
You know, work, try things, get awesome. Don't be afraid to spice it up. Like people will get, I've heard of people getting jealous of trying to spice things up, or you know, why would you, what, you know, I think I heard it earlier, what were you watching for you to want to bring this up? That's obvious that there's like something, like a little bit of a negative friction. So then if you get that reaction, reel it back and explain. Say, hey, I want to fucking try it, and that's my choice, and you married me for who I am. So put this shit on. Well, let's roll. You're gonna be a fucking bunny, and it's not Easter, all right? This is the way it's going.
This is my fantasy.
This is just how it's going. And
you know, I think the biggest thing too is don't be afraid to possibly get rejected.
No.
Because there are going to be times
that means they just like it. It means they just like it. They just don't want to admit it.
But like there's like where you're just tired and I'm not, and I want to try it, and then I get mad. Oh, why didn't you want to do it? Is it me?
Our biggest thing.
And it's like, no.
I'm huge for this, and this is subconsciously how much I love her and her. We can be sleeping, and I will wake up, and I am like, oh my, because once I touched her butt, I'll just touch her butt just to make sure she's there. And boy, you know how many times I've had night sex in 8 years?
What? Oh, I can't stand it. Once I'm asleep.
Listen, and she gets rude.
I'm like, dude, I'm asleep.
Unconscious rude. Okay? Unconscious rude. But did that mean she didn't want me? Did that mean that our relationship was over? Did that mean that I was being rejected because she didn't like me? No. Did I think that at first? Yeah, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this has worked 99% of the time, but she's not 99% of the women. Everyone's different. There can be me. Just takes 10 seconds for you to touch me. I don't care where it is, when it is. I love this woman. Be before breakfast, after breakfast, whatever you choose. That doesn't matter to me. But some people are. They're like, hey, I've had a long day. Me, I don't care. If I got a headache, I've heard it helps. If you don't Google it and put that in his face and say, shut up, I got a headache. I don't have any Advil. You're my Midol. Like, do it up. My phone's blowing up.
Yes,
you
about
ladies
9:30.
enjoy. Yeah, sorry, that was fun.
Thank you. All right, ladies, good topic for today. Good topic. Hopefully that helps. Maybe even gives you a little bit of a male perspective. Even just hearing some of the stuff reiterated from him, using it as example, I'm like, oh yeah, like that is weird to hear it from your perspective of just some things that like we as women overanalyze a lot of things. You know, we're like, oh, was that because of this and because of this and because he thought of it? No, probably not. Right? Probably not. That's us overthinking a situation and overanalyzing it. And so I think what we can learn here is that, one, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Two, they might not get it right away.
Can you do me a favor?
They might not know. Three, communicate, talk, say, hey, I'm really interested in spicing this area of our life up.
Okay.
Right? So you have to go for it. You have to talk to them about it. Because the thing is, if you just try it,
I know that
and then you don't get the reaction that you want, then what happens is we go back reclusive, right?
All right, and then
So,
do me a favor,
hey,
just- I'm not trying to have you.
You guys hear me? I'm not sure if you can. I just didn't want us to be like trying to talk over each other. He's on the phone. And so I think be in communication with them. And this is your partner, you guys, this is your life partner. Be willing to say, hey, I think that maybe we could work on this area of our life. And I think actually we're both just going to benefit from this. It may be a little awkward, but I really, really want to get us back on track here. Whether it's cuddling after sex, or mainly just having sex, or us both enjoying sex, like whatever it is that you need, you have to speak up about it. You have to. Okay? Like, we have to be willing to step out of our comfort zone and say, this is what I need in this area. Because in our relationships, you guys, it's super important. It really is. Maybe you're not having, like we said, maybe you're not having sex every single day with your partner. That's totally fine, right? But there has to be some sort of connection on some level at some point. That isn't just hanging out watching TV. Like where we are putting our bodies next to each other with skin on skin contact. I think that's really important. Skin on skin contact. There's times like where just like Mike comes to bed with his shirt on and I'll just like rip mine off and just like lay on him. Right? Like I just want that. Like even think of like babies, like skin to skin contact. There is something really big about skin to skin contact. Okay? Hi Jackson. We all know how you were made. No, I'm just kidding. Oh goodness. So hopefully that was a good conversation for you guys. I know we went a little long today, but I think it was good. I think it was maybe needed, and maybe once we can start fixing some of these underlining things that were a little taboo to talk about, right? Like I know it was awkward. I know I laughed a lot. I know like I probably like got more embarrassed than probably anybody, but it's important. And it's obviously something we're all interested in talking on, or you guys wouldn't still be sitting here at 9 minutes or at 9:40 still listening, you know? That says something. That says something that, okay, this is definitely an area we could all use some work on. Yeah, we're getting healthy. Yeah, we're eating the nutrition. Yeah, you're going on runs and working on your mindset. But what if you could fix and save your marriage because of this right here? How cool would that be, right? Like, what if one day we're all sitting here as couples? I don't know. What if all of your guys' husbands were sitting on here? That's possible if we're willing to work on it, if we're willing to step out of that comfort zone and talk to our significant others about it, okay? Who knows what the future can hold for all of us, but I see good things. I see big things happening.
I'm actually the most comfortable being uncomfortable. Hey, Mr. Frank.
That's very true. Like actually we get really antsy when things are going too good, or like when things are we get like bored and we just get antsy, and I'm like, what else can we do here? What else can I switch up? Like we prefer the white water rafting than coasting. Like we prefer to be out on the boat snorkeling and in the water diving actively than just sitting on the beach. We're just those types of people. We prefer to be in it, to be in a little chaos and a little bit crazy than smooth sailing. Okay, now whether you're one or the other, you need to figure that out, and you need to figure out if your spouse is like that too, right? Like maybe you and your spouse are opposite. Maybe you love the chaos and your spouse loves the calm water. Okay, so now what, right? Like Mike and I got really lucky. We both love the chaos. We both actually thrive when things get messy. But that works for us. But you got to kind of start identifying who you are and who your spouse is. And then find common ground. Just like I think Tessa was saying that earlier, I kind of wrote that down, like finding that common ground or finding that commonality of like, oh, okay, I really do like this and he really likes this. So boom, that's where we can meet on our level. Okay. Good talk, you guys. Good talk. I love the chat as well. I was reading it. So if you guys didn't get a chance to pop over and read that, it was pretty funny too. Yeah, we're gonna end it on that. Tonight we do still have our team meetings. So if you're a coach, don't forget about our team meeting tonight. I got a few things I want to talk about. And then tomorrow is free day, so we'll do music and just kind of chill and hang out. And I'm sure he'll probably have things that he wants to talk about tomorrow, maybe, because I have a feeling that he wasn't done.
Yeah. Are you ladies, you interested in me doing Warrior Hour tomorrow? Because this is what I want. I'll be an open book. I'll answer completely honest, but I want you to get some questions or problems that you may come about in anything with Beachbody. Anything.
What about?
Why isn't your husband working out? Humping? I don't care. If it's the shakes, if it's the programs, if it's how to keep guys motivated, whatever. Like, let's maybe focus on these guys. Let's tear these little fuckers apart and let's rebuild them together. I'm down. Make moves. There's two down there. Yeah.
All right, ladies.
Enjoy.
So tomorrow, bring your guy questions. How about that? Bring your guy questions.
Bring them on.
If we only have a couple, we'll just do it first, and then we'll do some music. If we get more,
I'll have some stuff together.
Okay. Cool. Let's do it.
I don't have to do any other work.
Okay, also, don't forget. So tomorrow we'll do that, and then Saturday is yoga, and Sunday no Warrior Hour. Okay, just remember that too. I meant to reiterate that yesterday, but Sunday we are doing no more Warrior Hour on Sunday. I am sleeping in. Love you, girls. All right, ladies. Thank you guys so much for the good combo. Tessa and Tennille, thank you guys so much for coming in and all that you did today as well. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye, ladies. Have a good day.